What's up, guys? Dennis Ortiz here with Ozone Lair Media. Today we're here at the West Bottoms and we're getting ready to check out this beautiful historic building, the Oliver Building. My good friend Jill Hayes, she's gonna be the first interview, and we got a few other surprises for you guys. $527 million development here in the West Bottoms. They're building 1,200 apartment units, office space. It's destined to become this vibrant work, play, stay area that is just going to attract all kinds of entertainment and business.
So I want to say that we have 3 buildings down here.
Okay.
We have the Shepherd Building, we have the Oliver Building, and we have the Quincy Building. So the Quincy Building was built by John Quincy Adams' grandson. The Oliver Building has 6 floors, and then on the 6th floor, it can walk out onto the top of the Quincy Building. The elevator here is the 2nd largest. They don't make buildings like this here anymore, and I am just so honored to be the listing agent that they chose to lease these buildings, and also just happy that all of my colleagues are here to spread the word and get the West Bottoms back to action and a beautiful place to be.
So check this, I'm gonna take you guys on a tour. Steve's actually gonna assist us. He is the owner of this building. It's actually 3 properties, and there's a lot of history in this walkthrough. Please bear with me, stay with me, and listen in, because you're getting ready to hear some real history from the West Bottoms at the Oliver Building and the adjacent building as well. So check it out.
John Quincy Adams, the 3rd president of the United States. His grandson built this building.
How about that?
He was a railroad guy with the Quincy Railroad, and he had his Kansas City branch house in here. The other thing they did in here, Belay was in here, and they had architects in here and engineers, and they actually designed airplanes in here, and they designed automobiles in here. They didn't build them here, but the Spirit of St. Louis, which was the plane that went over to Europe, its predecessor was actually designed in this building.
You lead the way, we'll follow.
We're in the tunnel.
Okay.
See the rails out there?
Right there.
The rails are still under the concrete here now. Runs all the way through there and goes out on 13th Street.
So this was the main line for the rail.
It was what you call a house track.
Okay, a house track.
Called a house track. So
Okay.
this train, this building had its own track where the railroad would come in here and unload into that building, unload into there and there.
Wow.
And there's a reason there's a metal roof. You know why? It's a wooden building,
Right.
and locomotives were in here putting out cinders, and you had to keep the cinders from going up into the flooring.
Okay.
That's why there's a metal roof in here.
Ha!
Yeah.
How about that? Wow,
And then you
interesting.
come in here, you'll never find hardware like that. That's all railroad type hardware on all these doors. They're all original. All this is original. I worked on this building for 3 years with my construction crew prior to opening up for the events there. We came in and sandblasted all the wood because it was all painted.
Right.
Floor had vinyl on it. We tore all that off. What my whole idea was, bring the building back to original condition, but put in the new modern amenities that you need, like air conditioning, heating.
So that's all new.
It's all brand new.
Oh, wow.
Everything in here, we took all the old plumbing out, all the electrical out. We tore everything out and put it all back new and modern and up to code.
Wow, you guys done an amazing job because you managed to maintain the integrity of the...
We kept the original feeling. See right here? See that door? That's where they would unload into here. The train ran behind that wall.
That's okay. I see.
Okay.
So they offloaded, and this was
Into
some
here.
sort of dock area,
And then go up.
and then go up.
Inventory. And that cargo chute is there to bring boxes down quickly to the shipping department. Then you have the vault.
Right.
This is
They're made to last. They're made to last, huh?
made to last. This is the old vault.
Right. Wow.
Here's what happened. These vaults are almost every building in Kansas, in the West Bottoms has a vault, but they're not original. They're not original. These got put in, and they got put in 1929 when all the banks went broke in the United States.
Right.
That's when they had the Great Depression.
Yes.
So all these big companies, these were big companies, they didn't trust the banks anymore. So they built vaults and went to cash. They used to keep cash in.
So we're standing in a place that used to be filled with cash. That's
Cash.
what you're telling me.
Yeah, if you want to buy something,
This is
you
good.
bring in a sack of cash and pay.
How about that? Let's
Yeah.
get some of that mojo. What's the square footage?
9,000 a floor,
9,000 a floor, and you got 6 floors.
54,000
Wow.
plus the basement.
Uh-huh.
So you got about 60,000 here.
60,000.
About 60,000
Just in
here,
this building.
About 50 over there, and about 45,000 over there.
Wow.
So we got about what, 150,000 square feet.
150,000 square
And you got
foot
this mezzanine area here.
of event space, office space, retail space, essentially, is what it's going to be filled with. Any of that's going to be for, apartments or anything like that?
No
or
residential.
No residential.
No residential here. This is all commercial.
All commercial.
I think residential will be down the street, but this is all commercial. What's really cool, nobody ever tore that out. Lots of times people come in here and gut at that.
Right.
It's still here. And people love to look at it.
I think it looks great. I'm so glad they left it. What kind of events do you guys host here?
On Saturday nights, we book weddings. We're booked for the next year and a half. And then during the week, we do commercial type stuff. Like Adobe was in here doing a presentation of a new product that they were going across the United States, and Kansas City was one of their stops. And they came in here for 2 days and put on a presentation to a lot of IT people.
That's it.
So we had big construction companies come in here, and they have seminars teaching their people what they need to do.
Right.
Christmas parties for different corporations.
So a little bit of everything, really.
A little bit of everything.
All right.
I'll take you upstairs.
All right.
Don't mind following me upstairs.
I'll follow you up, right up.
Up here, we have different private rooms for brides and for the wedding parties, for families. They call them breakout rooms. Sometimes they call them war rooms for different conventions that are going on. Just one of our private rooms. Sometimes this is used as a green room to get ready for someone to speak.
Right.
We have a certain amount of political fundraisers here. So they'll come in here and relax and get ready.
Great space.
This is the bride's dressing room. Okay?
I see why so many people come
Brides
here
come
for
in here
weddings.
with their girls, and they all drink and have fun and get ready for the wedding. There's some of the original equipment that came out of this building.
Hey, you gotta capture this.
Yeah,
Look
it
at
was
this.
pulled by a mule.
That's a plow.
Pulled by a mule. One horse mule.
Ah,
That was an Oliver plow.
all right.
That's why it's called Oliver. My son's grandfather's father had that plow, and it came out of this building, and we brought it back here.
Huh.
Yeah. When he died, we had that plow, and we brought it back in here. It's the guys' room here. It's where the guys get ready.
Gentlemen's club. No smoking in this building, right?
No smoking in the building. You can smoke anything you want outside.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's just got that sort of like cigar bar sort of vibe in here.
It's a guy room.
Yeah.
There's an old map from
Yeah.
Kansas City streets back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay? This is the old cobblestone. And there's my other building. That's a really old building there, this one here.
Wow. The amount of creativity that you guys had to put into repurposing this building is simply amazing, but it's just hard to believe that now it's this space, and before, right here when we're standing, it was just, shipping.
It was shipping. And this is where West Bottoms Whiskey's at. They
right.
have their distillery in there.
All right, they do.
This is the building I bought in 1983. It's a really good building. It's very strong.
What's the name of this building?
No events in there. It's more of a quiet building.
Right.
But it has like law officers in it, IT people in it. I have my office in there.
Gotcha.
It's completely office. And there's 45,000 square feet there. Then we have these two buildings here. Myself and my son, we have a really good knack for it, and we have a lot of passion.
I can see that.
I'm all about preserving history and preserving these buildings. These buildings are just fantastic. And if you don't take care of them, they eventually get in trouble. But
Absolutely.
I've been trying to bring them back. And then you got to put in some sort of a commercial entity into them economically. They have to pay. And I try to do that with respect and to not do something that's silly,
Right.
something that really respects the building and what it was.
The
That's what I
integrity.
do.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Steve, you guys are doing an
That's my
amazing
deal.
job. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
it's all good. Thank you.
So, hey, we're going to continue the fun here. Got some interviews to do with some of the key players here in the West Bottoms, important personalities that are going to give us a scoop on what's going on with the development and how it's going to impact the whole area. Follow me.
When I first came to the West Bottoms, I worked for a small construction company, and I worked in this building.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it's quite different now.
Right.
It's amazing, and it really typifies the best of the West Bottoms, this particular property. We're talking about 15 years ago.
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah.
What do you think about what's coming to the West Bottoms with this major developments and everything that's coming to this space?
Well, I'm part of the board of directors of Historic West Bottoms Association.
Okay.
We've been down here for 100 years, since 1924, always trying to do things for the betterment of the area, particularly around infrastructure. We're supportive of redevelopment. We like it when historic buildings are saved and redeveloped. So the development is a positive, as long as they let everybody that's down here continue to do business.
Absolutely.
And I think they're going to do that.
I'm thinking about this, this development and the history of this place. I would imagine that it's probably a bit of a challenge to evolve, but at the same time preserve the integrity and history of the place. Is that something that you guys might have, run into and figure out how to mitigate?
It is challenging, but they do it all over the country, and we can do it in Kansas City too.
Absolutely.
The history is what really drew me to this area and has kept me down here because it is so rich. We're in the middle of the middle of the middle of the country here in the West Bottoms. Right here is
the heart of the land.
The heart of the land.
Absolutely.
And right here at the confluence of two rivers, one of the really starting places for the community and the region.
This is where it actually emanated from, because this is where the commerce used to run through, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It is. There are actually a lot of different nodes to the beginnings of Kansas City, but certainly the West Bottoms here at the confluence of the two rivers is one of the most prominent ones.
I want someone special to talk about the future of Kansas City, and that is our very own city manager, Brian Platt.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Brian Platt, city manager. For those of you who don't know what a city manager is, probably most of you, I run the day-to-day operations of the city here in Kansas City. And it's a very exciting time to be in Kansas City. We are on a rocket ship, and the West Bottoms is in the front seat of that rocket ship. Think about all the great things that have happened here or are happening here. We just opened a $1.5 billion new airport. We have the first purpose-built women's sports arena in the world right now. Yes, we can applaud for that, right? We have $2 billion of development breaking ground in the next 6 months or so. And that's a huge number. And the West Bottoms is a big part of that. We've got this Samara Road project. Hopefully you're all familiar with it. It's a half a billion dollar development project that is breaking ground in just a few weeks here. And what that's going to do for this neighborhood is bring jobs, apartments, retail, activity, amenities, all the things that you want in a neighborhood, we're bringing to the West Bottoms. But what's so special about it, and what's so special about the West Bottoms is they don't build it like this anymore. This building is unique. We will, as a society, never build something like this again. And rather than knock everything down, people like Steve and the family here are preserving and amplifying what we've got. This new West Bottom Samara Road project will look like this. It will blend the modern with the old. It will build on the historic fabric of the community here, and it will make sure that this is going to be the most unique neighborhood and the coolest place, not just in Kansas City, but in the region. It's a place that's going to be a destination for people. It's not just about First Fridays, it's about so much more. And so we're so excited about it. There's a lot of work that we do to make these things happen. There's a lot of infrastructure and support that the city needs to provide, and we are so happy to be a part of all that. And what's cool is it's not just that one project. This will be a cascade of more projects, more development, more stuff coming down here. So happy to be one little part of it. Go Chiefs, I don't know what else to say. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. Go Taylor's boyfriend. Thanks a lot.
I love Kansas City, man. It's so exciting what's happening here. You know, we have Samara Road that's, you know, investing $500 million into the West Bottoms. And this is one of my favorite places in all of Kansas City because you have these beautiful buildings that are just like, you can't find any of this. And again, I lived in Denver for almost 10 years and they just don't have this type of architecture there. Like they don't have historic buildings that are 150 years old, right? And then you have, you know, Curtis and Steven who are the owners of these buildings that have just done an immaculate job of stripping them down to the bare bones and then, you know, just making them new again. And so they're beautiful spaces and we're honored to be able to lease out some space here. It's really been a fun project. So, you know, the concern with the West Bottoms has always been the flooding.
Right.
But they have spent another $500 million on raising the flood walls and, you know, ensuring that
Just
flooding
infrastructure.
is not going to happen again.
Right.
And so as the Army Corps of Engineers actually have gone along the river and raised the flood walls and the levees and all those things. And so we don't have to worry about flooding down here anymore, which is why it's encouraged developers to come down and start investing money in the West Bottoms. And frankly, I mean, I think it's coming full circle. Like this was the original downtown of Kansas City. So to see more life and development and things like that coming to this area, you know, frankly, I'm just so excited because you look around and the streets have been neglected and the infrastructure around here has not had the improvements that we've seen in other parts of the city. But when you have a developer from New York come in and say, hey, I'm gonna drop $500 million here, it's put enough incentive on the city to come in and say, well, we're gonna address things with infrastructure and the streets and the sewers and sort of things that have needed to be done, frankly, for years. So It's pretty exciting, yeah.
So, you know, looking at this space and with what's coming to this area, what do you think this space is ideal for in terms of, you know, business and tenants?
Right now we have everything from photographers to a law firm here. So, you know, I think if you're looking for a space that's like communal, right, where you have that community and you want to have access to frankly, a badass event space like the Oliver Building, you know, we have something for you here.
I'm the president of the Historic West Bottoms Association. I have worked in the West Bottoms for about 7 years. I was running a recycling company called PCs for People until December. And now I actually work for a regional government planning office on behalf of nonprofits that are trying to make sure that the community has affordable internet and broadband and computers and digital skills. But my first love is working with the property owners and business owners in the West Bottoms.
What's your take on the developments that are coming to this area?
My take is that it's a very good thing.
All right.
But it takes a balance. It's a balancing act because the West Bottoms is one of the most historically significant areas in Kansas City. You know, 120 years ago, at the turn of from the 19th to the 20th century, over 98% of the wealth of Kansas City was right here in the West Bottoms. Now, granted, a lot of it was cattle and hogs, and it smelled terrible. But there were retail stores and hotels, and everything happened here. Now, fast forward to today, there's still a lot of old buildings, and we want to preserve as much of that historical aspect as we can while welcoming the new development. Because if you look at what's happening around the city, particularly in the last 20 years, the West Bottoms is probably the last really, truly undeveloped gem that's close to downtown and close to everything else that's going on. And it's picking up very rapidly in terms of momentum.
Absolutely.
But it's a balance, you know, there's industrial business, there's regular retail business, and now there's residential. and trying to find a balance along with what's historic. That's not an easy thing to do.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
So my role, the reason I like what I do is I spend a lot of time focusing on compromise and keeping peace between business owners and government officials who sometimes have sharp elbows.
I can imagine.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And
you have to mitigate a lot of this. I can only imagine what that looks like. What are some of those challenges in terms of, the projects that are coming and preserving the integrity of the place?
right. So I hate to be this blunt about it, but we're part of the city of Kansas City, Missouri.
Absolutely.
And for the city to run and operate, they need tax revenue. And tax revenue comes from businesses and residential units that are operating on a day in and day out basis. Historically, for the last 50 years, the only tax generating activity in the West Bottoms has been haunted houses for Halloween.
All right.
And First Friday weekends,
That's
antique shops. Those are all great, and we love them. But for everything we do in the West Bottoms to matter more, we need to build on those and have more day in, day out tax revenue generating activity. And that comes from restaurants, bars, apartments, creative businesses, office spaces, you name it. There's a lot, and that's what is starting to happen.
I see that.
And so we're just trying to keep the peace and try to stay balanced, but really promote the promise that the West Bottoms has.
You're absolutely right. That's predominantly what the West Bottoms are known for, as the haunted houses and First Fridays. Do you think those two things will stand the test of time with everything that's coming to this area?
So that's a bit of a sensitive question.
Right, yeah, yes. Most people will probably want to know, and you don't have to share if you don't want, but it's something that probably people are able to identify with when it comes to the West Bottoms. And,
So I can only answer in terms of the kinds of business owners that we're encouraging to be here. People like haunted houses. That's really cool. We don't want them to go away.
Right.
But we also don't want them to stay at the expense of other things that can also be here. So the peacemaking sometimes is about how can you adjust the way you run haunted houses so that they can collaborate with other new businesses and that you can all support each other.
Yes.
That sounds idealistic, but in the role that we're in, the Historic West Bottoms Association, that's what we're committed to do, is to try to speak that language and get as many of the owners to work collaboratively together as possible.
What a fun night. Thank you guys for watching. I ask you to please follow the Ozone Lair Media and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, and by all means, check out the content. Put your comments on the content and let us know what you guys think. Check it out. Bye.